Here we are, episode 100. I didn't even realize I was creeping up on episode 100 until this morning when I was shooting footage of me repairing the mini golf course. And I realized episode 100 is going to be next. And I didn't want to just sort of let it pass. I'm sitting in front of my Airbnb right now. And it's part of a longer story. So let's walk to my garden. I'll tell you the story real quick. And then I'd like to show you my garden here at the Airbnb because this was the first garden that I started working on. And we now have a few in addition to the farmland that we haven't started on yet, but we will start very frighteningly soon. Is this lighting okay? I realize it's a bit dim under my canopy. Look at this beautiful canopy. It's something I'll show you. And I've always kind of known since I was a kid that I wanted to someday retire out to the farm, but I always thought that that was something I would do when I was older. And Corey was basically like, why are you waiting? This is something that we could do now. So we made the decision, and it's been a year now, and we have spent the entire year preparing, taking more classes, practicing on our gardens here in Tulsa, and getting this Airbnb up and going. Well, now a year has come and gone, and it's time to go back to Montana and work on the Earthship again. And when we return from Montana this time, we are going straight out to the farm. That's exciting, and it's also scary. But I think that we're ready. I think we're ready as we'll ever be, and definitely more ready than we were a year ago. And part of that was not only getting acclimated to the amount of work we would have to do, but mentally, getting over all the mental block. But we have a short bus that we bought last year, and we basically stripped all the seats out and put a plywood floor in it so we could take it to Montana like a big metal tent. It's not built out like a lot of the van life vehicles that you've seen. It's more or less empty because we were going to be camping in the desert. We wanted all the windows open. We just threw a mattress on the floor, had big 5-gallon jugs of water inside, and it was great. So we're going to take that out to the farm. We're going to live in that on the farm while I try to restore a couple of the old houses and potentially build a new house or some sort of new structure that we can live in out there. So in light of that, I wanted to show you some footage, a clip that I've been sitting on that we shot last summer because part of the education we were trying to get was an internship with Apricot Lanes Farms, which is the farm in that documentary, The Biggest Little Farm. And I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It'll light your fire for sustainable agriculture. But we didn't get the internship, which is fine. There were a lot of good people competing for it, I'm sure. But it was such a good video, and I felt like we were very vulnerable and we shared a lot of information about ourselves in that video. So I'd like to show it to you. I hope all of what we've been up to will translate to our life out at the farm beyond episode 100. I used to come out to this farm all the time growing up on holidays and weekends and summers. So I spent a lot of time here, and at that time there were a lot more people living here. My grandpa was alive. So coming out here is simultaneously nostalgic for me and sad because I have so many memories of what the farm used to look like and what it used to be, and now it will take so much work to get it back where we want it to be. But I've always felt that this was kind of my life's calling, or at least one of them. I think what I'm really chasing is not a different career. I think I'm chasing happiness and satisfaction. And the happiest and most satisfied person I knew was my grandpa, even though he was also one of the hardest working people I knew. And he lived out here, far away from anybody else. And I think there might be something to that. We need to learn more about what we're doing out here. And I think that our gardening classes and our permaculture classes are going to come in handy. Our eco-building skills are going to come in handy, but we need more. We need to see how a farm runs day to day, at least the farm that we want to run. What attracted you to this style of agriculture to begin with?
I came to agriculture through sustainability. So I've always had a passion for the environment and being mindful of how we as humans interact with the world around us. And so I've always been looking for a way to get back to nature, to connect with nature, to combat global warming and all the different things that we're currently talking about, and finding different ways to solve those problems. And for me, the biggest way to do that is through agriculture. The amount of carbon that we can sequester through the soil, that the soil wants and needs, to be able to use that for ourselves and not have it be detrimental to our future and to our children's future. So the fact that we have this asset right here and available to us could really make a difference and leave a legacy for our children and future children, and also be an inspiration and an example for those around us and for those who want to see a different path.
Hello.
So why Apricot Lanes Farms specifically? And I'll wander in next to you. I think this is a question for both of us, but why do we want this internship specifically?
Yeah. I think we're both very much learners by doers. When we just came back from Montana, where we learned how to build an airship, we've spent the past year doing an online course and doing little projects around the house, but there's nothing like being there and being with a community who is passionate about what you're doing. The questions that you think to ask, the questions you didn't even think you needed to ask, all become apparent, all become real.
Yeah.
And you learn so much more.
When you put them in practice.
Yeah, when you put them in practice.
Yeah. And when we watched the movie, The Biggest Little Farm, I was amazed at how they were able to take some of those designs and scale them up, and yet keep the aesthetic quality and the ethical quality, and really it's the scaling up that I want to see in action. And I think we have a really special piece of land. I don't even know that my grandparents knew what could be done here. I mean, they had the knowledge they had, and now we have the advantage of the internet and access to all these experts and all these different styles of growing and farming. And I'm really excited to take this beautiful piece of land and see what we can do with it, and see if we can create something beautiful that in turn will give us back what we need to survive. All right, we're back. What you're looking at is the most beautiful lawn in this whole damn neighborhood. This is my front lawn. I'll try to throw in an image from Google Earth to show you what this lawn looked like 5 years ago. I like to do things, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I like to do things cheap and easy. So I started out with this fence. I maybe spent $100 on this farm fence. And then all of the mulch, I covered my lawn in 8 to 10 inches of mulch, and it was all free. I basically walked up and down the neighborhood and I picked up everybody's grass clipping bags, all the leaf bags, the bundles of sticks, any biomass, any biological material, plant matter that I could get my hands on. I just had literally a little red wagon, and I walked around the neighborhood picking it all up and dumping it on my lawn. And then I would get free plants from friends, free seeds. If I ate some good peppers from the store, I would save the seeds and plant them. Some stuff grows, some stuff doesn't, some stuff dies. So here on our easement bed, we've got wildflowers, nothing but wildflowers. This is putting your best face forward, Not a lot of them have bloomed yet, but we've got some interesting flowering ferns and coreopsis and other wildflowers. Hopefully they'll bloom soon. All the bushy plants you see growing along the fence with the purple flowers, that's the hairy vetch. That is, again, super easy to just tear down and throw in the compost pile for chop and drop fertilizer. This bed in front of the stairs, hello butterfly. It's got some giant daikon radishes, some pumpkins, more wildflowers, and that leads over into our compost bed. This is all just coffee grounds, food scraps, and grass clippings in here. And I did a video about these woven stick barriers. If you haven't watched that yet, go back and look at it. They were all harvested from these trees, the trees that make this beautiful woven canopy. One of the first things I did was plant 3 fruit trees on the front lawn, 2 pears and an apple. They actually produce pears, but they also produce 1,000 branches every year, most of which I have to trim off, and then they all get woven into these barriers. There's a rose bush, got some giant garlic, got some onions over here. This is another native blackberry bush that has grown. I don't know if it was a bird shit seed or if this thing has grown a rhizome or something over there, but this was the original native blackberry growing up the side of this pear tree. It's still blossoming, but it hasn't grown fruit yet. It's a little slower than my other blackberry bush that I'll show you in a sec. So let's see, got some big garlic. This is an artichoke. I've also got some tiny little baby tomatoes that are trying, but it's been pretty hot. More baby pumpkins here, more hairy vetch. Like I said, these are gigantic onions. It's an elephant ear and another artichoke. As we come over here, more garlic, elephant ear. This is a blueberry plant. It's doing quite well. It does already have blueberries on it, but they're not quite ready yet. But it produces a ton of blueberries every year, and it just keeps expanding. Got some lilies over here. Oh, my peach trees. Yeah, I added peach trees 2 years ago, and they're already fruiting. Look at that. Hope you can see that in the light. Maybe I can go around to another side. These peaches are about the size of golf balls now. Not quite ready. But both of my peach trees, I have one on this side, and I have one over here that are kind of on their way to joining the canopy overhead, the canopy that I've woven together. And it's tied as well. You'll see some ropes as I was training the branches together, but 2 pears and an apple woven into this canopy over my head. Did I mention why I don't like the apple? The apple always gets sick. It always catches some disease. It grows half the speed as the pears, and the apples just aren't that good. I love apples, but this specific apple tree is having a rough life, and I really wish I had planted 3 pear trees. Here's a little elderberry plant that I planted recently. It's only a year old, and it's already got berries. It's doing really well. So anyway, yeah, the point being, this is just a regular suburban front yard. It's nothing special about it. It's not even that big. I didn't spend that much money. Including everything I've ever spent on this yard, maybe $300 or $400. Most of the materials were free or salvaged. You know, when I laid cardboard down to block out grass, it was always free cardboard. The mulch was always free mulch. I either got grass clippings and leaf bags, or I went to the local free mulch place. Have I shown you my golem? I don't know if I've ever done a video about him. Maybe I have. But here he is again. This is Emmett, my golem. He's pretty amazing. All right, cool. I'm gonna cut it here and I'll show you our garden at Corey's house down the street. Almost forgot to show you my good blackberry bush. Check this out. I get pounds of blackberries off of this thing every year. This is an Arkansas thornless, in case you're looking for a really good variety. And we are very close to Arkansas, so it makes sense that it would do well here. But the blackberries this thing makes are enormous. Look at that. And I get pounds every year off of this one bush. Look at that, look how densely it fruits. It's insane. And I have to cut it back every year or it would take over the entire yard. It just really wants to be delicious and huge. I have no problem with that. Hey guys, I'm on the lot today, specifically to show it to you and show you the update. All right, so here is the start of the stick fence. Not the start, sorry, the end, the most recent part that I've been doing. So you'll see that no ivy or vines have grown in this portion yet. And it's also pretty sparse. You know, it's not dense like the old stick fence is. Here you'll see this stick fence is starting to fill in, starting to get some vines and ivy growing up it. So here's the stick fence at the back. This is the first one I did. See how much more dense that is? And it truly is like 8 to 10 feet high and just growing in dense with ivy. It'll get more dense as the summer goes on. It'll continue to grow well into probably August, maybe early September, we'll see. But yeah, it's just a giant green wall now. It looks amazing. So this log is inoculated with shiitake spores. Hopefully out of those little would-be holes there, we'll get some shiitakes blooming at some point. Here are my hugelkultur beds. Logs from that massive log pile. It's becoming its own hugelkultur bed. Some big stones for thermal mass. Planted lots of ground flowers. This is coreopsis. There's some other small vegetables planted in there to grow at the base of the pawpaws. The other one's the exact same way. I filled the space in the middle between all the logs and stones with mulch from that massive and ever-growing mulch pile that I'm still struggling to spread out. Let me see if I can show it to you. I'll climb up the pile, show you how much I've done and how much is yet to be done. So here you'll see that I've made a good start. Made a good start. Wraps around this way, goes about halfway to the back, and then arcs over there quite a bit. I'm getting there. Another year of spreading mulch maybe. All right, yeah, so hey. All right, here we are in the garden behind Corey's house. Now this was gosh, 5 years ago. This yard was completely empty. It was just a lawn. It was a big lawn. Oh, hey there, girl. Oh, I'm excited to see you too. Hey, Lola Beans. Hey, Ricky. Oh. You're such a sweetie. Let me give it to her. There's the hens in this new chicken run that I built. It's like, it's probably about 10 feet tall and just built of whatever scrap, fencing, rods, whatever I could get a hold of. All kinds of random stuff in there. Then we parked the mobile hutch, which works great. If you'll remember, it's got a roll-away egg system. Hey, look, it works. There's 2 eggs right there. Thank you. Thank you, girls. So we've added these walkways. We built this fence here, Corey and I put in a brand new fence, took the old fence out and made these little boardwalks, which join up to our mulch path. The mulch path is lined with logs from across the street. It's all in a bit of disarray right now. We're moving a lot of furniture around. Logs run back to the conservatory that we built off the side of the house. That was the first project that Corey and I built together. There's a greenhouse off the side of the house and this pergola that we will eventually grow foliage over for a nice shade grove. Here's the pond we dug. That's Choi Boy, the cat. He does a good job of killing any small animals that happen to stray into the yard. He also loves watching the goldfish in the pond. The fountain is still a work in progress. This is basically our food forest. Almost everything you see growing back here, corn, beans, squash, vegetables of all kinds, herbs, fruit trees, pumpkins, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. It's just literally a food forest. And we will come in here and mow walking paths into it, but that's it. Everything else is gonna grow. What dies in the winter will die, what doesn't won't. That's a giant elderberry bush. it's giving back. It's giving back to the chickens, which give us eggs, and it's giving back to us directly in the form of all these edibles. Yeah, this is what a yard, I think, is supposed to be. What do I know? I'm just some guy. That's it. That's episode 100. That's what I've been up to right now, and what I'm gonna get up to in the future. So I've actually already posted, like I said, this episode is time displaced. I've already posted episode 101 because I film everything on an old iPhone and I did not have space for both episodes at once. I had already filmed the last episode of cleaning up the mini golf course, but I didn't want that to be episode 100. I wanted 100 to be something special, so I just ignored the premise that the numbers have to be sequential. I can do what I want. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the other side of episode 100.